Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Right before I headed off on my trip, Deadline put out an article of The Future of Funny, the 15 comedians ready to break out in 2025. So I'm like, all right, I'll do that one when I get back. And that is today, my friends. I haven't read this at all. We will experience this together. Deadline says, here in alphabetical order are 15 comedians would bet on as the stars of tomorrow. First up, Chanel Ali, named a Just for Laughs new face at the 2019 edition of the Montreal Comedy Festival. We're told she's a strong joke writer who's been seen on Epix's unprotected sets. I am not familiar with her. Jeff Acuri is described as the fastest-selling comedian at this year's New York Comedy Festival with 2 sold-out Beacon Theater performances. Deadline tells us in 2024 he sold over 250,000 tickets. Now, I'm a little suspect here that Deadline is just printing anything handed in because it says Arcuri has showcased on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Comedy Central's Roast Battle, Laughs on Fox, SiriusXM, and at numerous comedy festivals nationwide. Over the years, just to catch everybody up, I know some people hate when I bring this up. I used to run SiriusXM comedy. That's how I know what I'm talking about here. And I would see comedians quote SiriusXM as like a credit all the time. It's like, dude, you put out an album and we just scheduled it. So I don't know. Maybe he's been hosting a show on Sirius for the last decade and I didn't notice. But now I'm wondering, oh, okay, did people just hand stuff in and Deadline printed it? Next up, Catherine Blanford, a charismatic Kentucky-born comedian who's toured across the country. She's released her first-hour special, Catholic Cowgirl, through the 800-pound gorilla back on December 5th. Fern Brady, yeah, I could see Fern breaking through in the States. One of UK's hottest comedy stars who awaits her big break stateside. The Scottish comic is coming off the release of her first Netflix special, Autistic Bikini Queen. That's a good choice there. Next up, Nico Carney, a trans stand-up writer and actor based in New York, currently headlining comedy clubs across the country and sold out his headlining show at the New York Comedy Festival. Aaron Chen is a comic quickly climbing the ranks of the international scene. Born and raised in Sydney, he sold 28,000 tickets in Melbourne across 10 shows back in 24. I think we played a lot of Aaron Chen here on this very podcast and dug him, so that's good. That's a good pick. We like that. Dina Hashem, yeah, she's cool. Known for her deadpan delivery and nuanced observations on her Islamic upbringing, Hashem has garnered Emmy and WGA award nominations. This is a good list. These are good picks. Jordan Jensen, Brooklyn-based comic, who recently graduated from clubs to sold-out theaters. Jensen recently inked a deal with her first-hour special for Netflix, which should debut sometime here in 25. Interesting. If you want to check her out, go to YouTube and check out 30 Minutes with Jordan Jensen. Matt Matthews tours doing Confessions with Matt, adopted from his video series of the same name, where he offers a real-time comedic take on audience members who voluntarily spill their deepest, darkest secrets. Chloe Radcliffe, based out of New York City. A lot of New York comics here. She was named a TBS comic to watch back in 2017. Been 8 years. Becky Robinson, based out of L.A., has gone from viral sensation to a sold-out theater act with Entitled Housewife, an outspoken golfer character she introduced during the pandemic via a pair of self-produced variety specials. She grossed 7+ figures over the course of 103 shows in 2024. She's going to tape her first stand-up special at the Wilbur in Boston in March. Casey Rocket is described by Deadline as one of the more unique comedic voices you're likely to come across today. Something can't be more unique. It's just unique. Look up the definition, but I know what you're trying to say. Rocket's career has blown up since being named a permanent regular on Kill Tony. Casey Shornama is one of the newest Weekend Update writers at SNL. Named the best up-and-coming comedian in Nashville by Nashville Scene magazine, and was a Just for Laughs new face in 2022. I like this. She's been seen alongside comics like Neil Brennan and Nate Breghezzi and Dave Attell. Well, I've been seen alongside comedians like Jerry Seinfeld. There's a picture somewhere. Next up, Gianmarco Cerezi. Yes, friend of the show, 2-time guest. He's taping his first-hour special this year out in L.A. I'm a big fan of his, like him. And last, alphabetically but not least, Renee Vaca. Vaca was one of 9 up-and-coming comedians selected for the Introducing showcase at Netflix's Joke Fest 2024, the winner of the 16th annual Stand-Up NBC competition, and he regularly sells out Leg Day, a monthly show he hosts at the Hollywood Laugh Factory. In other news, the Critics' Choice Awards were supposed to happen today, but the fires in Los Angeles have delayed that, wisely so, to January 26th. The CEO of the Critics' Choice Awards says this unfolding tragedy has already had a profound impact on our community. All our thoughts and prayers are with those battling the devastating fires and with all who've been affected. Chelsea Handler is scheduled to host. There are some comedy nominations. Best Comedy Series, Abbott, English Teacher, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, Only Murders, Somebody Somewhere, which is on HBO. Somebody just told me that was pretty good. St. Dennis Medical on NBC, What We Do in the Shadows. I'll pick Hacks. Outstanding Talk Series, Hot Ones, Daily Show, Graham Norton, Mulaney, Everybody in L.A., Kelly Clarkson, Colbert. I'll pick Mulaney out of that. Best Comedy Special. Okay, get out Johnny Mac's snobbery magic wand. The nominations are Ali Wong, Jim Gaffigan, Kevin James for Irregardless. Are you kidding me? Nikki Glazer's Someday You'll Die, Rachel Bloom's Death Let Me Do My Special, and Rami Youssef's More Feelings. Boy, this is tough. Wasn't Gaffigan's best work. Despite this being the year of Nikki, that was not a strong special. Rami, I didn't like the direction. I want to give it to Ali Wong, even though that special wasn't targeted at me and it didn't personally speak to me, but I'll respect the special and give it to Ali Wong for Single Lady on Netflix. And on Best Animated Series, this is weird, okay? So Batman, Cape Crusader, Bluey, Invincible, The Simpsons, X-Men, and They've Fallen for the Hoax. They've nominated Bob's Burgers. Slate caught up with Nate Breghezzi. Is he currently at the top of the comedy pyramid? Is he currently the top-ranked comedian? If I bring back the comedian power rankings, if I have 5 minutes to make them, is he currently number one? Nate shared that he used to have more of an edge. He recalled in a story that he once workshopped an out-of-character joke about murdered sex workers in New York City, which he ditched after hearing from a woman in the sex industry who took offense. Nate internalized the feedback and then got rid of all the edginess and said, I just need to be super careful with anything that could be seen as making fun of someone. I never want to be mean. Slate writes, Nate is certainly a smart enough guy to concoct a great joke about, say, January 6th or the Facebook algorithm, but he'd much rather talk about his McDonald's order. There's dignity in that approach and maybe a little bit of cowardice, too. Therein lies the irony of his rise, writes Slate. When Breghezzi first caught on nationwide, we were seeding into the coma of the early Biden years. Send your letters to Slate. Americans had finally tapped out of the era-defining divisiveness of Trump's initial ascension, and we're holding out hope that the country might be on the cusp of a well-deserved period of stasis. Nate implores his crowds to shut off their brains for now when he's on stage, thus receding into the narcoticizing splendor of his meticulously crafted but ultimately toothless comedy. A little harsh. Dude's really funny. I don't know. Whitney Cummings shared an anecdote about auditioning for Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. She gets to the set with Coppola and finds out that it's not a typical audition. As Whitney tells it, everyone is so quiet. There's no vibe of we're at an audition. Hey, what's up? How are you? Nice to meet you. It's just so awkward. I go in, I'm like, so where do you want to start first? And he's like, no, we're not going to do the scene. I was like, okay, it's 3 days of my life. He would just throw things at me. Apparently, one of the directions was to say goodbye to her son who was going to war by using an English accent and then use an Australian accent to respond to her husband, leaving her for her sister. Whitney says, because I did the show Punked, I was like, if I'm being punked, this is actually genius. Rob Beckett is working on a pilot for a show called Am I the A-Hole? Yes, it is aimed at fans of the popular Reddit thread. I am sometimes on there. The pilot features a panel of top-tier comedians passing judgments on relationship dilemmas and disputes and promises big laughs and eyebrow-raising stories. Examples include a discussion of somebody getting rid of their favorite pet or prized car behind their partner's back. That could be fun. And Seth Meyers tells Late Nighter he has no interest in hosting the Oscars. He says, the Golden Globes, I think, is the fun one. I think once you do this one, it's hard to imagine doing anything else, just the way people are seated, and it feels a little less stuffy. With that said, I think Conan's going to kill it at the Oscars. I'm very excited about that. A lot of respect for my buddy Jimmy Kimmel, who I feel like has done an incredible job over the years, but he's never said anything that made me think, oh, I'd like to do that. And that is your comedy news for today. Please join us in the Facebook group. Come hang out. Start a discussion. We discuss comedy. And I like when I log in and somebody else has started the discussion. It's great stuff. So please join us there. It's the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. You'll be asked a couple questions to make sure you're not one of those porn bots that try and sneak into the group and do just naughty things. We're not here for that. And if you would like this program without commercial interruption, there's a link in the show notes that'll tell you how that works. Short version is $5 a month, and you get this show and a bunch of others ad-free. See you tomorrow.